Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Indeed, a lovely morning to you. Welcome to the program. I'm Maupe Ogu Yusuf.
So very interesting yesterday. The IGP is out. There's an acting Disu in that capacity. And then, of course, developments in Benin City, Edo State capital, also making waves. Then we know the business, reducing interest rates by how many basis points to still 26. I mean, even if it's 20, even if it's 19, double digits. I know that I think it's decades now, they've been trying to get it to a single digit. I remember the time that the former CBN governor, now Emir of Kano, they strove, they did everything possible as much as they could to see if they could get it down to a single digit. It still didn't fly.
They did, I think, around that period. I think it got to somewhere around 9.5 or 9.8, something to that effect.
Single digit?
Yeah, single digit. They were able to, but it didn't last long. It was so fleeting.
So there you go.
It didn't last long.
That doesn't work for businesses because you get those loans on a long-term basis and not just for 1 month or 2 months if you have to make meaningful business impact. And so it's still a huge challenge in terms of businesses in the economy thriving, the economic climate. So a different narrative, even though they're thumping their chest in terms of, oh, we've been able to do this and that, but look, the truth still remains. The spending power, the purchasing power dwindles. People are still striving, let me use the word struggling, to make ends meet, to eke out a living, because you know how it is in this society. It's on a daily basis that a lot of people get by. And so we never have any standard procedure or structure to ensure prices are regulated. It's every man to himself and God for us all in terms of how prices go. Today is off the roof, tomorrow is back down. The same thing with petrol prices. As long as it keeps going back and forth drastically like that, marketers tell you, I mean, commodities will tell you, look, we just leave it at that. We don't have the stress. We start taking it back up and down. So that's going on in the society, but there are different scenarios. Add to that, security. So it's quite an interesting mix in this part of the world.
I was just about to say, now you're about to overwhelm me. But that was basically...
Isn't the country overwhelming?
That was what transpired yesterday. A lot to look at. I mean, you just mentioned the resignation. I was going to say you didn't frame that properly. You said IGP out. IGP out.
That's a teaser. That's such a teaser.
IGP resigns.
It's a teaser. It's part of what we're focusing on today.
You know, I don't know how, present family concerns, saw the IGP out yesterday, and an acting Inspector General, Disu, appointed. So, yeah, quite a lot to look at. You also mentioned this attack that happened in Edo State yesterday.
Yeah.
Or did you mention that? No, maybe you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Or maybe borders on security. And then, of course, inflation. And for those who missed it, on our News at 10 yesterday, it's always on YouTube. You can go and watch the analysis of Mr. Bismarck Rwani. He always does a fantastic job looking at, what the authorities are saying and how it really affects the common man on a daily basis. Now, you might not agree with some of the figures in terms of the pricing of food because they vary from place to place, and it also varies from where you buy. If you buy your food in a supermarket, for instance, you might not see the price of eggs at what he's saying, but generally, you should notice that there's been a downward trend in food inflation. However, he still makes the point that energy is still very expensive. Electricity is still very high. For those who are buying on Band A, it's one of the biggest shocks I've had to witness.
Which they increased that quietly.
250 naira per kilowatt.
That was increased. So NERC should stop the denials.
NERC, yes, NERC. We need to have a conversation with NERC. And then the price of fuel, so purchasing power is still very low for many Nigerians. You hardly have any extra left for anything extra after you've been able. I mean, for many people, they can barely meet the basics. I keep asking, when are we going to have that conversation that borders on reality? Because in our country, we really want corruption to evaporate. We don't want to see corruption in our society. But we're yet to really talk about what should at what level, what should people earn or what should people own for them to say, okay, we've been able to do this for you. People ideally should be able to, people should be content. You know, and I would think that a lot of people really do not, they're not really interested in stealing or begging. They just want to be able to, you know, live decently, send their children to decent schools, maybe not the best schools, but at least a school where they're getting a decent education. And these things, we're not talking about Nigeria, or some Nigeria that did not exist. These things were the reality just a few decades ago. So how do we get back there? Big question. But looking at, so we're still looking at development. And then, of course, this denial, accusation and denial. So this piece of news that came out yesterday about Nigerian government paying ransom in the rescue of Niger school children. Yes, it was an AFP report. They said they had spoken with some sources close to the negotiations, people who knew about it, that huge sums of monies were paid. Well, we saw an instant rebuttal, we understand, from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation. They released one. I think the State House also released another. But that's how seriously they're taking this matter of the allegations of ransom being paid to secure the release of 230 children who were kidnapped in Papiri in Niger State. Well, quite a number of things, Chamberlain. To be very honest, we're relieved to see the return of those children because they were there for close to 3 weeks, if not more, and people were wondering, how can we leave children, you know, in the bushes? The question people always ask the Nigerian government, every time they say no ransom payment was made, nothing like ransom was involved, we really want to believe we believe you, but then we ask the question. I don't say we really want to believe because
well, I heard it. That's what I heard.
That's what you heard, but that's not what I said. We believe you, but the question remains, where are the people who stole these children? That's a key question. Have they been caught? Are they in prison? Are they in your custody? Because over and over again, we see people being released. We saw the ones that were released in Kaduna State a few days ago. You know, there was plenty of celebration. They returned to their community. That was particularly scandalous because initially when that kidnapping happened from the church, there was a denial. Yeah. Fortunately, you know, there was a confirmation, maybe less than 24 hours, that indeed such a thing did happen. And then they were returned, thankfully, safely. Nobody was hurt. Everybody returned, including little children, babies at their mother's breast. But then, key questions. Yeah. Where are the abductors? What happened to them? We didn't hear anyone being arrested. So these questions go on to fuel the idea that something somewhere is going on. Something that, of course, state authorities might not want us to be aware of, and it might not be far away from ransom payment. Now, if they say, no, we didn't do that, it was negotiation, please, can we negotiate with them and get them, negotiate their way to prison or negotiate their way to face the law? These are the things that Nigerians want to see because we believe that these people cannot continue to hold our country to ransom. But, Chairman, as you rightly pointed out, quite a lot to look at this morning.
And you know, the thing about some of these is that, look, stating that no ransom was paid may not just be enough, especially in a climate of public distrust. You know, there are several questions when all of these things happen. The public will always ask you, so how was the rescue done? Were there negotiations? Were there intermediaries involved? If you say no ransom was paid, so there are gaps. And so you can't blame people if they're asking questions as to, look, we see some gaps. Chances are that the authorities may have done what they were supposed to do in getting those children released, in terms of putting up a fight, involved in a shootout. But if the public don't see these things, it's difficult for them to believe what they don't see. So if this requires them to go back and retool and ask questions, because these amounts of children you see here, that's a lot. And so, I mean, we didn't see them announce any investigation into the publication. There's no offer of engagement to the media. There's no invitation of independent verification. There's no transparency measure. So there's several things going on. Yes, you could put out some of these statements, but I think they need to take it a step further to say, okay, look, where did we miss it? Where did we drop the ball? how is it that this impression is what is out there? What do we do to ensure that this impression doesn't subsist moving forward? So those are areas that the authorities may need to go back and say, okay, look, if we've been keeping tabs, keeping everything sealed lips, we'll just see the children appear just like that, and then people ask you, why are there so many coincidences? And so you're accountable to the people, so the people will always ask you questions, and if you don't give information, they will fill it with speculation. And when they fill it with speculation, this is what it comes down to. You start chasing the narratives. So that's why it's important. Those countries that lead in the narrative, that hold pressers every week, they're not foolish. There's a method to the madness. If you don't do that, nature abhors vacuum. If you don't fill it, somebody will fill it for you. And in most cases, it may be inaccurate. So we can't keep saying this every now and then, but that is the reality. This is a practical reality now. So communication and PR people, you know how some of these things flow. But for yesterday, the IGP, or former IGP, new acting IGP, all of that scenario, take a look at this report in terms of how that transpired. And then, of course, we'll delve into it in a moment.
June the 19th, 2023, the beginning of another leadership journey in the Nigeria Police Force. The appointment and decoration of Olukayode Egbetokun as the 22nd Indigenous Inspector General of Police by President Bola Tinubu to represent a new generation of police leadership and to oversee reforms that match the administration's security priorities.
I feel like a tiger inside of me, ready to chase away all the criminals in Nigeria.
A look at some of the high points of his 32 months of leadership highlights significant transformation of the force through intelligence-led policing, resulting in the arrest of over 35,000 suspects, the rescue of 1,907 victims, and recovery of 2,750 firearms. However, other key achievements include upgrading the police units, establishing the Special Intervention Squad, promoting over 200,000 officers, and improving service delivery through Servicom.
He did a lot of heavy lifting. You know, the challenge with the reforms within institutions such as the police is that a lot of the changes and improvements you've made, it takes a bit of time for it to, reflect in people's day-to-day experience.
Mr. Egbetokun, while speaking with officers on one of the election eves, harped on the need for professional conduct in any election coverage.
Our job is to provide security for the election. The police has responsibility to protect the rights of all citizens, including the right to free democratic expression in election of public officials. This duty is sacrosanct, and we are committed to discharging these duties without fear or favor.
Mr. Egbetokun has faced mounting criticism over the nation's deteriorating security situation, particularly the wave of kidnappings, banditry, and terrorist attacks across multiple states of Benue, Plateau, and Kwara in the north-central, as well as Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kaduna states in the northwest region, among other incidents. Mr. Egbetokun was due for retirement in September 2024. However, President Bola Tinubu sent an amendment to the Senate, which was passed to give an IGP a full 4-year term, irrespective of the statutory 60 years of age or 35 years in service.
We had a situation where people came out in the name of protest, burned down police stations.
He will be remembered for his personnel welfare and discipline, with priority for officers' training and welfare, while enforcing zero tolerance for misconduct, aiming for a professional, citizen-focused force.
Welcome back. Yes, as you've heard, the police has, I beg your pardon, the president has accepted the resignation of the Inspector General of Police, Kaide Egbetokun, and appointed Tunji Disu as acting IGP. But beyond that headline, questions are already emerging about compliance with the Police Act, particularly on succession, seniority, and statutory procedure. Was due process strictly followed in determining who becomes the next Inspector General, and does this appointment align fully with the provisions governing leadership transition in the MPF? Yeah, you may say it's a time of worsening insecurity. Nigerians asking whether this is strategic reform or simply a change at the top. We're joined this morning to examine these decisions. Mr. Wilson Yanadegwu, former Assistant Inspector General of Police. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
I mean, you saw a lot of this in your time, so
thank you.
Maybe not exactly different in terms of the change, but against perhaps the background, if we could call it the build-up to this. You know, there's been several arguments as to why should he still be there, what is he still doing there. And people thought, well, he might have been, maybe the president thinks he's going to be there until after the February elections, but this changed. And then the reasons he resigned. I think it's rare to see the IGP of police resign. I don't remember when last that was, but people say there's a lot that meets the eye here. It's not just mere resignation.
Well, sometimes you really want to, you're tired, and you want to go and take a quality rest.
Sometimes.
But you see,
it's just that it's rare. People really get tired in office.
In this country, they are tired.
Yeah.
When we see president die in offices, they are never tired until they get to the grave.
You know, people are different. People are different.
But in recent times, we've been seeing more people tired. In President Tinubu's government, a lot of people get tired, and it's always family.
Yeah, but you know, it's within the power of the president to hire, either fire or accept resignation. And I think that's, and of course, the president may want to inject fresh ideas, fresh perspective to policing in Nigeria. Don't forget, the police is a critical institution because it has primacy on internal security. And when you have worsening insecurity, the president can come up and, and say, look, let me rejig, starting with the leadership, because of course, when you bring a new head, you expect that he'll bring in some, fresh ideas of what to do.
Exactly. So that's what they want to do.
But policing,
not that he just willingly resign.
Yeah, but policing in Nigeria is very complex because you talk about the competence of the institution, their capacity to do their work, and you have the political angle. It is the mix of this that will give us the kind of policing that we need. Because if you have the government, they're all engaged in party politics, partisan politics, and then you are an Inspector General of Police, you are expected to look at what can I do in terms of competence, what can you have the resources to do your work, and then the other angle, you have the political pressure. And so it is the mix of this that will give you that kind of advantage or leverage that you can carry out effective policing. But what is clear today is that there is insecurity all over the place. Look at the recent incidents in Niger, Kwara, North Central, Northwest, Northeast, and all over the place. So the president will come and say, look, what do I do? Of course he has the power, because the Constitution says the president shall appoint from among serving members of the Nigerian police force. So if you are retired, the president cannot appoint you. If you have not been in police, or you are not currently serving. So the Constitution, which is a ground norm, did not provide that the president must take from seniority and all of that. By the way, there's a management team, because you don't expect the IG to operate in isolation. The IG has his management team, just like a governor or the president has his cabinet. So if the president thinks the IG needs to improve on this performance,
taking whoever may be next in line.
No, it's not bind. The law does not.
It doesn't matter who is
No,
next
the
in line.
Constitution says shall appoint from among serving members. That's what the Constitution says.
7 members. So why can't he go to ASP then? If it's
I mean, and he will not be violating the law. But then the Police Act, of course, the Police Act is the Grandom takes precedence. The Police Act can provide from AIG, to DIG, and that has been specified. But you see, I think we've got to understand police leadership. There's nothing like grooming and all that. It just comes and somebody's just taken.
Nothing like grooming.
Yeah, well, I take it that in the course of your work, but I think at the rank of AIG or DIG or from CP, you begin to look at the officers, their performance in terms of delivery of their mandate. You begin to look at community acceptability and all that. Yeah.
Isn't that part of the challenge? If I know that, look, it doesn't matter what I do, they'll pick whoever they want. Why am I good? Why do I have to put in my best?
Yeah, but I think
if you say there's nothing like grooming.
Yeah, but because
just take whoever I want, just do what I want.
Like the young man, the officer that has just been appointed by the president. I think he has demonstrated competence in the various positions he has held. But you see, you should begin to look at the IG, the Police Service Commission, the ministry, the public, begin to look at the trajectory of officers. I say, look, is this one able to command this position? You are not going to be running away from police work. And when you get to AC, you are not coming back to police work. So this is, it has to be taken from your appointment or recruitment into the force so that they begin to see you, because you cannot be all the time. You have not been exposed to criminal investigation. You have not been exposed to intelligence. You have not been exposed to operational duties. And when you get to a certain rank, and you see, because it takes a while.
Is there any DIG, AIG who has not been exposed to these things you've spoken about now?
No, of course, some have, done, but of course, you look at the CV. I'm not privy to the CV of what. I left the force close to 7 years ago.
No, procedurally, naturally. You don't have to see that CV.
I know, because what I'm trying to say is this. Now, the man that has just been appointed was was in charge of RRS in Lagos. He was in charge of IRT, Intelligent Response. He was CP Rivers, CP FCT. So he's gathered experience as a superintendent. But there are some officers who have been in certain positions, from inspector, you're in government house, to ASP, you're in government house, SP, you're CSO in government house, and you get to AC, the next thing, you leapfrog into AC operations. You've got to have that grounding.
You must be with the grassroots.
Yeah,
you said there's no grooming.
Yeah,
is there grooming now?
No, just let me. I'm not questioning the competence of any officer, but what I'm saying is, in selecting or appointing an IG, you've got to go all the way down and look at what has been the trajectory of this guy. What are his operational experience? What are the trainings? And I'm telling you, some officers never go to JAWS.
Has this been taken into consideration with the appointment of this new acting IGP?
This acting IG, when he was CPFCT, I looked at his operational capacity and in terms of competence. And I think it's one of the things I saw with him in the FCT. I think he communicates with FCT citizens. Even when I had the opportunity of watching him parading suspects, he took his time. Trying to relate with the public, and I think that is critical. Two, when he was in IRT, I had the opportunity of meeting him, and I found a gentle person who is passionate about the work. I am not aware, I'm not saying that those who have been AGCs or CSO shouldn't be, but I think he has more in operation. You have not been a DCU or DTU or DPU, because DPU is a mini commissioner. You have not been an area commander. You have not been an AC operations or all that. All the time you are hibernating. And when it comes to the big stage, and because you have political backers, you found yourself in some states. So what I'm trying to say is that in making critical appointments for commissioners of police, for AIG zone, the DIG, those are zonal. If when you're doing your geopolitical zone, you don't have a DIG, even if you're a commissioner, you'll be promoted a DIG. But I'm talking about those who are involved in daily policing, those who have contact with the public, those who manage crime. You've got to get somebody. This guy, I think he's highly experienced. He's got proper training. I think he has gone to foreign mission, Darfur, Southern Sudan. That gives you that exposure to interact with other police forces. He has also attended some courses and is a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And this is a platform that gives you that exposure and gives you that level of training. And these are important.
I hear you quite right. But that is not to say that all of this supersede what the president wants, who he wants to appoint. You can have all these things, and the president can decide to choose whoever he thinks can do the job that he wants to be done.
Chairman, I was just going to say, you know, one of the things that we have seen over the years with the appointment of inspectors general has been the issue of security of tenure. People have always advocated, and I think that was done in the new Police Act, that there should be security of tenure for 4 years. And so it should embolden any inspector general to be able to carry out whatever reforms he or she believes, and I'll say she because even though we're yet to see a woman become that, but he or she wishes to carry out for the good of the Nigerian police without fearing that as a result of taking a particular step, you know, you'll be taken out just on a whim. And that's why for a number of people, they're really very curious about this resignation. You have just said that the president might have wanted to inject new blood. And some people will say, okay, was this the president's desire? Or was this really from him? Because then it then defeats the purpose. If we have found a way to put this, it was a matter of big debate in the National Assembly for this security of tenure. If we have found a way to finally put that in the law, but we see that political pressure can still bring family problems for whoever is sitting in the seat. Which can lead to resignation. Which can lead to resignation. Haven't we defeated the purpose?
Security of tenure is important. But before you get to that security of tenure, we have to go, how was the appointment made? Because when you appoint based on certain considerations, I think if you are going to appoint an IG, it should undergo a process. IGs, they don't feel secure in their position. You are in your office and you have a call to go to the villa. You don't know if you get to the villa, they're going to request that, okay, your services no longer are required. That is if they give you that respect. In some cases, you'll be attending the conference for somewhere in Maiduguri, and while you are there, somebody, your orderly will come and whisper to you, Oga, there's something on the news. You can never do your work. What we are talking about security of tenure is having a professional police force that does not bend to the left or bend to the right, bend to just the government wishes and caprices and wishes, or to the right. Now, when an officer can stood with his chest up, and that starts from your training, from your ASP or recruit, because as a constable, you can even arrest a minister. You've got to be given that confidence. But that is lacking. Because when you find police officers in real crime, corporals or sergeants addressing the press boldly, and that happens when there is security of tenure. That means if you're an IG, the only ground you can be removed, you must have committed some infractions that require that the Senate would deliberate your removal and must reach a certain percentage or certain number, quorum, to remove you. But a situation where I appoint you, you make a law, that law conflicts even with the Constitution, even with the Retirement Act. If you reach the Pension Act and all of that, because the ground for public servants is 60 years. And what do you call it? The Police Act, within the twilight of you are approaching retirement, and the law comes, no, you are given 4-year tenure. And so, what do? You are given 4-year tenure. There are some people who say, look, they're used to a certain system. You move from ASP to DSP and all that, and the time comes, and somebody blocks there because you are exiting, but the man at the head is not exiting. He's sitting there. So if you want to do it, it is not an act that can be rushed. I think the amendment that provided for 4 years, I think was rushed because it just went to the parliament, and the next thing, it is passed.
What do you think it should have been?
Oh, it should have gone through a process because you have to sit down. The legal minds look at the Constitution, look at the what do you call it?
Police Act.
The Police Act, the Pension Act, the Public Service Act. What is the retirement age?
Yeah, so what is
because
missing?
The police is part of public.
What is missing now? Because are you saying security of tenure? There's a problem with
as far as I'm
law
concerned,
as it is now.
Yeah, because when I tried a little while ago, when the Police Act 2020 came out, I tried to read through it, and I think in one of our meetings at the Retired Officers Association meeting, and we were looking at it, and what I saw is the public service or retirement of police has not changed from 60 years or 35 years.
So I do know that the appointment of this IG was a bit controversial, the outgoing IG, because he was supposed to have retired in 2024, and he was appointed in 2023. And then there was, I think, a slight amendment was made to the act, to make sure that he was able to serve for 4 years.
Exactly.
And that's why a lot of people are now wondering, okay, but it's not yet 4 years.
Why is he resigning?
But it's a big issue.
Police is a critical institution.
Yeah.
And the 4-year tenure, fantastic. It gives you opportunity to have your short-term plan, medium-term plan, and long-term plan. You are not going to engage in quick fix, as it will seem. But I think it will not be too much for government to sit down. Because, unfortunately, by the time you are getting to CP, you are getting to IG, gray hairs are coming out. You're already approaching 60.
Which is also a problem, it would seem, for this new acting IG, because he, from what we see, his date of birth is 1966. He should be 60 this year as well, but he's now just been appointed as acting IGP. Some people are saying that, well, it's interim, but this is pending the confirmation. It's unclear if his name is the one going to be sent to the Senate or if he's just sitting in. But do you think that this is a problem in the sense that some people will say, should we really be looking at the retirement age, or should we look at if these people still have, a lot to offer in terms of the leadership of the Nigerian police? Because if we're to go strictly by age, some people will say we could, axe out our brightest and best as a result of these restrictions being placed around age.
Yeah, unfortunately, the public service retirement age has not been adjusted. But it doesn't matter. You can take it to 65 years. The problem of promotion You see, the ranking structure of the police is a bit congested. If you look at small agencies like the like road safety, within a short time they have equivalents of ACGs, AIGs within a short time of service. But in the police, your promotion must carry an appointment for the senior rank. You cannot be promoted an assistant commissioner and you are given the job of a DPO. So, unless they continue to expand the establishment to accommodate some of these developments, otherwise it's going to be a problem. Recently, a lot of inspectors were graciously promoted to the rank of assistant superintendent of police. Now, that number is huge. But are you now going to put them on street patrol? Because they're senior officers. Right. So what I think, part of reform that should be done, you've got to expand establishment. Perhaps in a state like Lagos, but that will require constitutional amendment to have maybe AIG now to head commands and all that, so that you give room for more promotion. Okay, so if you don't do that, this is like myself. I served for 33 years, one month. All right. Because I turned 60, I didn't complete my 35 years. Do you understand? So, and I mean, that's not a problem. Okay, so, we're winding down now, but for those who are ahead of him now, do you think they're going to retire them? Well, there is practice, there is convention. And I think what has been happening has been that those that are senior to him will retire. Why? The reason is... By senior, do you mean in age, or do you mean in length of service? In rank. And I say this, for example, I know that the police is a civil organization, is not that regimented, but come to think of it now, I am your DIG, operations. You are the commissioner of police, FCT. Now I'm giving all the instructions, do this, do that. Oh, you didn't do this, issue query and all that, in terms of discipline. And that CPFCT is now IG, who has been taking instruction from you. And the next thing is your boss. It could be a little bit, but everything depends on the Police Service Commission. So the individual officer, if he wants to leave, or... But that's not entirely the case, because both practice and convention fall flat in the face of the law. Yeah. Because remember, in 2023, Joseph Mbu versus Police Service Commission, he won his case because he was wrongfully retired before age of 60, and he was told to pay 40 million. The PSC lost. 2025, not long ago, we also saw Mr. Moses and Tinubu versus PSC. They also lost. PSC lost. So they said, you cannot retire them before their time. So if the PSC does it again, maybe this time they might award 70 million, because the law is clear. Yeah, I never talked about the law. I talked about practice. Yeah, but the practice falls flat in the face of the law. If you like, your son becomes your boss, your principal, and you are still the watchman in that school, that's up to you. That's why I say it was practice, convention, Police Service Commission, so and the disposition of the individual officer. That takes us back to where we started, following those processes, those who is next. Because when you go all the way down, what happens to all those on top? And if you kick them out, they go to court. I know your time is up. My time is up, but let me say something. If I were in this IG's shoe, the first thing I would do now is to sit down and have a policing plan. Take the policing plan to the president. Ask for special funding. He's a competent officer, but he's no longer in a command. He's now in a larger place in the country, policing about 200 million people. So he needs to get his policing plan right. get his policing priorities right, the elections, banditry, kidnapping, and all of that, and go to the president. Ebo or Baba, Eromilo, give me this fund, give me that fund. If you do that, I am able to achieve this. And then the president say, look, I will adopt result-based budgeting for you. That means if you do this,
shouldn't you wait until he's confirmed first?
No.
Because if he's acting,
have you ever have you ever seen any action in Nigeria that has not been confirmed?
Okay,
please give me one.
Back to practice and convention.
Give me one.
Okay, well, I'll cut that point. Thank you for coming on, Mr. Inarigo, the former AIG himself. Well, back in a moment. Don't go away.
Him to notify me as the chief security officer of this state. It's a crime. So be it. I have no regret about it. I repeat it. Before you come into Edo State, notify me. It's not a threat.
This kind God, another one.
We'll make a formal complaint, and I'll show you this cannot be true at all. We have a country. Yes, and we are part of the country. Exactly. You know, we cannot have terrorism terrorizing the country and have officials in government terrorizing citizens. It's not acceptable.
But it was chaotic and violent in Benin City, the Edo State capital, as Peter Obi and leadership of the ADC came under attack. Armed men reportedly followed party officials from the ADC secretariat to the home of the former APC chairman, Chief John Oyegun, firing shots and destroying vehicles. Well, that alarm was raised. But we're joined now by the man who put up that statement himself, Mr. Yunus Atanko, Interim National Coordinator of the Obedient Movement Worldwide. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Some of those images shocking, disappointing, well, maybe not surprising to certain people as a result of previous rhetoric, but run us through what exactly happened.
Okay. Typical of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, when he goes to any state, he does this humanitarian program on a continuous basis. And there was a program in the School of Nursing, St. Philomena, in number 23, Down Street in Benin. After his first visit, he promised that he was going to come back again. So he visited. Rousing reception, happiness, you can feel the energy when people receive him. So while we're done with that, he presented them with a check of 15 million naira as kind of his donation. It's a continuous donation he's done because they're building a kind of a structure for training of the student. So we're done with that. So we now moved to Chief Oyegun's house to greet him and then probably let him know that we are in town. So at that point, we discussed what the next program was going to be and everything. From there, we now moved straight to the venue of the event. At that venue, rousing reception again. Beautiful. You know, when Peter Obi goes to Benin, it's an energy-making event. People in Benin loved his personality. While we were there, information reached us that hoodlums are heading towards us. This is a 3-story building, 2 to 3-story building. So we hurriedly now concluded the program successfully. There was no any issue. But immediately we left, 5 minutes later, the secretariat was under siege. People were being attacked, shot at, and everything. You could see the footage and everywhere, scattered. So I was wondering, had it been that we were at that venue when they came, the whole hall was filled to the brim, about almost 1,000 persons in that hall. and 3-story building. You can imagine the condominium that would have happened. People would have been jumping everywhere. But we escaped that, and we got back to Chief Oyegun's house. In Chief Oyegun's house, it's the GRA in Benin, where you expect that there will be heavy security and all. Unknowingly to us, while we are finishing our discussion, we are heading out. That was when we heard the gunshots. I thought it was a joke. We just heard one, then pa, 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 then it was pa, 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 pa. The shooting went sporadically like that. Our security now responded. That was how they zoomed up and ran away. It's clear to me that it was just an attempt for assassination because there were 3 governors, former governors, including Mr. Peter himself. Oyegun was the former governor of Edo State, Professor Osumbo was, and then Peter Obi. So you expected that the security apparatus should have been up and running to protect life and property as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But they didn't.
But wait, so the first attack was in the Secretariat?
Yes, it was in the Secretariat.
It wasn't just one?
No, it wasn't one, it's 2.
Secretariat and then the residence?
They followed us down to his house, in Oyegun's house. It was in the Oyegun's house that you saw all those gates and everything that had been shot. And then you saw the destruction of the cars. They followed us to Chief Oyegun's house.
But I thought, the team usually move in this convoy. So the security attachment didn't pick up any trace or trailings whatsoever?
Remember I said 5 minutes after we've left the Secretariat.
Yeah.
We've left and we're already in the house before they came. It wasn't as if they followed us immediately where we were going. So we are already seated. We've already had our discussion. We are heading out to come to the airport. That was when we had the shooting. Yeah. So somebody must have been monitoring our movement.
Yeah, but, you said that someone whispered that some armed thugs were on their way to the venue, so you hurried the program.
Yes.
I want to imagine that whenever it is that His Excellency visits any state, at least he will have either some personal security, or that even the former governors whom he visited, or who were also in that gathering, will still have some details.
Sure.
Was there any preparation that, was there any information given to those security detail? 'Cause I don't know who informed you. I want to imagine that they are the ones, and that they too should have, been on the alert that anything untoward could happen, given what they already saw, what they already heard was coming.
And I think that was why we were able to escape it. Because if we are not informed them or they are not aware, we will have unknowingly still remain in the Secretariat and the attack would have met us in that place.
Yes, but then you went to Chief Oyegun's house.
Yes.
And then it didn't seem like... So it's unclear if there was a shootout or if it was just an attack. If you understand what I mean.
No, it was an attack because after we've left, we are already seated in the house.
Don't hear me wrong. What I'm saying is you're seated in the house.
Yes.
You said you're already about coming out.
Yes.
But I'm saying that when the security men should have been on the lookout.
Yes.
Just in case those people too
decided
to,
exactly. That was why they were able to challenge them, because if they were not on alert, the possibility is that they may even have attempted coming into the compound.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but then they were outside.
They were outside.
They were outside.
They were able to repel them.
Yeah, that was why.
So there was a shootout.
Yes, because they did repel them. That was why they were able to run away.
Okay. Well, this is where we are now. This is some people say a clear-cut case of witch cried, and then the baby was dead in the morning. Last year we saw. You said His Excellency went to the School of Nursing.
That's right.
And I think it was there last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And I think it was that visit that also caused a bit of controversy with the Edo State governor, who said, we just saw that in the report, but sometime in July last year, who said that the ex-governor should not visit Edo State without letting him know. I'm just a little curious though. Did he let him know on this one?
I don't think that the governor is well schooled in the act of governance. Because if he was, he would have known that he is a governor. He's not an opposition. He's a governor, he governs all and provides security for all concerned.
Even though he's in the opposition party?
Yes, that's how it is. That's what governance is all about. Because you are supposed to govern the good, the bad, the ugly, and then those who are even in opposition, that is your duty. So you want to know that if the governor is asking, somebody must inform him before. I wonder how many of his table will have been filled with a lot of requests. Because people like me, or unknown person like you, want to go into Edo State will have applied. So, the governor, I'm coming into your states.
Yeah, but I mean, we also saw a scenario in, was it in Benue State?
Yes.
Where, you know, such a similar situation came up with the current governor,
yes.
Governor Hyacinth.
Yes.
Who, I think he issued some sort of statement saying that he will not be responsible for security. And then His Excellency cried out that, look, this particular statement was not just made willy-nilly. It was actually targeting him, that he had told the governor that he was going to come to Benue State and would not just want to come, he would also like to, you know, visit IDP camps. And
yes.
I think, you know, the governor did not seem quite pleased with that. So when Mr. Obi was explaining the situation, he said he would normally, when he's going into a state, he would normally let the governor know and, you know, courtesy call, etc., before he goes to where he is really going to. That's what he said his modus operandi is.
Yes.
Was that modus operandi
followed through? Yes, because at the same time, even the the other two governors who are residents of that particular state did the same thing. But the truth about it is that people see His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi as somebody who is coming in to take food out of their mouth. Let me use that word. In terms of his popularity and the kind of person that he is. So they feel very, very uncomfortable. Because definitely the moment he comes into the state, a lot of people comes around him. I said one thing, that if Peter will be accorded a stone, if that stone can turn into a human being, they will embrace him. That's how it's been. He's lucky charm because he's been loved by a lot of people. So they feel very uncomfortable. That is where the court is. They forget that they are supposed to govern. They are supposed to even protect him so that nothing bad happens to him. But in terms of saying that probably somebody coming into your state and he has to inform you, he's done that. He's done that.
So he told the governor?
All of these particular people around the governor of Oyego and all of them do due diligence. We are going to visit Edo State under the invitation of Lumide Akpata, who was the MBA chairman, a law-abiding citizen, who knows all the rudiments of law and all. You should have expected that we have done due diligence.
But as at the time you were leaving the secretariat, when you already finished everything, you had inkling that something was going to happen, so you left and went back to the residence.
Yes.
Did you see a need in between that point to notify police?
We have security apparatus with us who already formally informed them exactly what's happening. They were the ones that even helped, because honestly, we would have remained in that secretariat not knowing that there was an assault on us. It was a direct assault, and for me, it's clearly indication of assassination, because they have laid the mark. Remember in 2023, our people were attacked. What I mean by our people, Labour Party members who were in Labour Party as at that time, in Lagos, were attacked. Some were being killed. Recently, on the 21st of this month, our agent in Gwagwa was killed, stabbed in the chest.
But I mean, the governor said the other day that he has it on good authority that ADC members are promoting cultism. So that was just before they arrived in the state, and people thought, wait a minute, if that was the case, it means something was going to happen. But that's on the one hand.
But Chamberlain, the question is, whose duty is to protect the citizen? If there are cultists in your state, it is the governor's duty to arrest them and get them prosecuted.
So the last time you visited, you know, as Michael highlighted, you had a bit of skirmish.
Yes.
And so, because if you look at the figures, yes, the Labour Party won the presidential election in the state with 56.97%. So clearly with the margin for the APC counterpart who won 24.85% in that last elections for that presidential elections. So the margin is there. It means that, look, yes, you may have your supporters, and chances are that if you're going to go there and visit again, who knows what might happen again. So moving forward now, what do you want to see happen? Because we can't afford political attempts, because if this happens here today and they think this is purely political, we don't know how this might spiral out of control in other states.
Chamberlain, I think a lot of our governors need to go back to governance school to know about protection of the states, not about your interests. Because at the point in which we are doing that, we forgot the actual duty that they are supposed to do. At every stage in our political life, this particular set of political party were in the forefront of the struggle about being maimed, intimidated, and all. We all saw it. Now they are a beneficiary of that particular structure. Instead of them to protect it and give us a better democracy, they are killing this particular one that we managed to survive with. So as far as I'm concerned, this particular government is actually killing democracy.
All right, that wraps it up today on the program. Yunus Atanko, thank you for your time, and we hope peace and everyone ensures that the right things are done, because we haven't even started campaigns yet.
At all.
And then we're doing this. This cannot be the case. I hope they investigate, and let's see what they come up with if they want to prove people wrong. That wraps it up today on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf, wishing you a great day ahead.